The following video is sponsored by thehangingbook.com that, as you can see by this video in his original version in Catalan, presents the innovative format of being served in a holder suitcase, in a kind of frame holder in which you can introduce the book on the side, on the page of the picture, that there are like 12 to 20 pictures, and so a part of being a book to be read. So also it's a decorative object or a decorative frame, picture frame, multi-picture frame for your home, for your room, or for the office. And well, so now we go with the video, the third chapter, dedicated to the some of the buildings of the 1929 International Exhibition of Barcelona. In this case, we can see the pavilion that it was built to show the things about Barcelona, that it was the city that organized this event. There were buildings or pavilions from Germany, from Italy, from some important companies, like some companies on building, on concrete, or some other companies on electricity. It was in this time near here, just like 50 meters apart, the very world famous so-called Barcelona Pavilion, though it was not really at that time called Barcelona Pavilion by Mies van der Rohe, one of the foundation stones as concerning the style and planned and disposition of the rooms of the spaces by Mies van der Rohe. At the time, it was the German pavilion. The really Barcelona pavilion, it was that one that you can see here, the pavilion of the city of Barcelona. That it was built in a kind of fusion of very modern trends of the so-called rationalists, especially by this horizontal molding, this kind of slim line that you have one by the ground floor, splitting what would be the line of the door, the central door, with the upper windows at the side and also at the center core. And then on the top of the building, the last floors, you can see that instead of going from corner to corner, it's somehow broken different levels. That also was the way to frame the windows in the period of the 20s, when in Wien, in Berlin, especially in many also Germanic speaking countries, there was this type of architecture, quite flat surfaces or facades, and then the vertical and horizontal distribution of the windows, quite easy windows like those ones, and slightly vertical with a framing differing from the background, in this case stone and the background brick, and also as the only way to give some kind of decoration, it was typical in this architecture of the early modern style to have um, a line that was going from beneath and from just above the windows all the way. And in this case, so that would be the touch of modernity, while on the other side, it has a clear Italian Renaissance look, as these buildings that by the 15th century, the Quattrocento, they were being built in Florence. The birth and the cradle of this new look at the ancient architecture, especially the Roman, the Hellenistic architecture. So we have, for example, Palazzo Sforza, and actually that's from Milan, kind of castle palace from the family that was reigning there by the 15th century. Also in Urbino, and all of these great condottieros and semi-king, little kings, Palazzo di Urbino, and also in Florence there is a famous loggia, kind of open building called Palazzo Lanzi. That would be from probably the architect that built this building called Josep Goday, and with the sculptures of Eusebi Arnau and Frederic Moraes was inspired to build this this frame above the windows of the first floor that they go round arch. In the case of this famous loggia where it used to be the David from Michelangelo, they are much wider and empty inside. So here we have these touches also of different architecture from this Quattrocento, Renaissance in general in Italy, and quite clear also from some palace in Venice, like the famous um, Palazzo Dogo or Ducal Palace. There is a famous main facade, but there is one of the secondary marginal side facades that they are not that splendorous and clad with the stone, but showing the real construction, the real material for the construction that is brick and for the framing of some windows stone. So here we have this um, Italian Renaissance reference that we can see. So it was obviously a functional building. It has to have light for the openings, but from outside it wanted to show kind of compendium just with a few touches of pillars or these embedded columns, semi-cylindrical columns, and on the top these figures, the religiosity of the city of Barcelona that comes from the Romans, and therefore was like in general all the ex-Roman Empire adopt very early Christianism, so therefore some saints, and it was a city of conquerings and heroes. You can see on the top these caravellas. Actually, remember when Columbus came back from America was the first place. So the idea it was that just with a blick and with a sight, a quick sight, one could see the the most important things that Barcelona has brought, has contributed into the evolution of humanity. The composition, in the one hand, at first sight, it seems quite regular. So, kind of well, it's all flat facade, but there are the sides, the left and the right hand side, with these horizontal windows, this row of windows, and there in the center, the succession of windows is broken by the main entrance with the system not round, not arched, but the entablature, like an horizontal stone piece. And then at the sides, instead of these more bigger windows, just these two small windows, and instead of being open, they are kind of enclosed by this metallic work, while on the top also the succession of windows that you can see at the sides, these more small windows are not framed by the round arch. This continuity is broken by bigger windows that they are round arched on the top and that they cut the the second floor and they enter into this area that is the intersection, no, or the transition in between the first floor and the second floor. So we can see a kind of triangle from the side, round arch, and going to the center where also is round arch, and then to the side, and then an inverted triangle, left, bottom, center, and then to the right. While also the cornice, this enlarged cornice, also at the center is cut short or more flat. So we have this kind of rhythm concerning the left, right, and center side. Obviously, in the center, the coat of arms of Barcelona, hold or lifted by the lions, as a way to say, look, we are Barcelona is very very brave, very strong. So we are in this period that in Catalonia has been called the noucentisme. It's a period that the pure noucentisme, it's more like this new Brunelleschi or sometimes with hints of Palladio or the early Bramante architecture, but modernized and more purified. But at the same time, noucentisme, the period or the movement that was or came after the famous Modernisme from Antoni Gaudí, Domenico Montaner, Puig Cadafalch, Enric Sagnier. Within the Modernism also, there were other trends that they were picking up ideas from the rationalists and also quite from the expressionists. And actually, this building from Josep Goday, it has some of expressionists, especially by the use of brick, as it can be seen in a school in Barcelona, also worked by this architect, and actually in the more famous expressionists from Germany, from Berlin, or the Chile House, for example, from Hamburg, where actually this style was born. The very same sculptures with this sound body and this standing up quite erratic and frontal, getting rid or abandoning the more contorted and light muslin skin and robes of the previous style. That also shows that we were in the new times, and also the flexibility of the sculptures that made some of these sculptures. Frederic Marès, that by this time was quite young, he began his career actually by this trend. But some of the other sculptures, they were from Eusebio Arnau, that at the, at the peak of his career, he was developing or making, sizzling this type of sculpturing that is more like slender, more like these muslin robes, this touch of melancholy and even sadness, a look, especially of the girls, a bit like anemic. But when he was older, that was not anymore demanded. So, like many architects and other artists, so they switched to another canon, another type of aesthetic. So here we leave the so-called Pavelló de la Ciutat de Barcelona, Pavilion of the City of Barcelona, and actually we can also pay attention to this street plate that is says Plaza Square of Carles Boigas. That he was the master, the engineer in charge of designing the magic fountains. That in the previous chapter, later also, as we walk in between these different pavilions, still standing from 1929 International Exhibition, and I say still standing because let us remember that many of the pavilions they were dismantled, as it often happens in the world exhibitions. So Carlos Boigas, one of the great men of this time, that gave this touch of, well, not this touch, gave this show to Barcelona already. Well, soon we will celebrate the 100 years of this magic fountain. Always advisable if you are in Barcelona to go to this area in the Central Arts, an avenue called Maria Cristina that actually articulates the grandness of all this area. So these magic fountains give this first glimpse of grandness to all this area, and then with more time, it's also advisable to go walking and to start looking and admiring, analyzing these different buildings as we are doing in these chapters.